So hello students, today we see the drawbacks in the Brownshire-Lowry acid-base theory. So already we know the acids and base definitions according to the Brown studies. Acids are the chemical species which donates the protons, and what are the bases which accept the protons. But so it is not necessary there is always acceptors and there is always donors are present. For example, if you take HCl, HCl is ready to donate H plus. HCl ready to donate H plus means it works as we know it is acid. But there must be other species should be there. There must be other species should be there to accept that H plus. For example, if HCl taken in the presence of benzene or carbon tetrachloride or carbon disulfide. So what is the importance of why are taking these solvents separately means they are known as aprotic solvents. Aprotic solvents means they are unable to, they does not accept and they does not donate the H plus. Means the HCl ready to donate the H plus means ready to act as acid. It's ready to donate the H plus, but in the presence of the compounds like benzene, it does not treat it as acid because there is no acceptor is there. Acceptor unte, if there is acceptor only, then it donates the H plus. So in the presence of the solvents like benzene, HCl does not act as acid. So not only HCl, all acids acts as acids only in the presence of acceptors. In the absence of acceptors, they do not work as the acids. It explains the acids and bases only in the presence of acceptors and donors. Okay. In the same way, for example, NH3 ready to take H plus, NH ready to take H plus and become NH4 plus. Means here NH3 perfectly works as a base. It is ready to accept the H plus. It is having tendency to accept the H plus, so it can be treated as a Brownstein base. But there must be other species which should donate, which donates that H plus. If there is no compound, if there is no substance is there to donate the H plus, at that time NH3 does not accept any H plus because there is no donor is there. Means Brownstein theory explains the acids only in the presence of acceptors. It explains the bases only in the presence of donors. Okay, so that is the main drawback. And just like Arrhenius theory, it is also having a drawback in the definition itself. So we can write it explains. We can write clearly that it explains acids only in the presence of proton acceptors. When there is no proton acceptors, it does not explain about the acid character of acids. So here we can write an example. HCl does not works as acid in presence of benzene. So not only HCl, if you take any acid that does not works as acid according to Bronsted theory in the presence of benzene, because benzene does not accept the electrons. In the same way we can write for bases. It explains means this theory explains bases only in the presence of proton donors. For example, already we said NH3. You can take any other examples also. So these are the general treated as the best examples. So it is ready to accept the electrons, but same if you take NH3 in the presence of benzene. So benzene type of liquid century, they do not accept the H plus, they do not donate the H plus. కాబట్టి same NH3 does not works as a base, same in presence of benzene. Means it explains overall we can write so we can say that it explains the acids and bases only in the presence of acceptors and donors. Without options, sorry, uh, without their presence, they do not. It does not explain the acidic nature and basic nature. Next, here one more important thing is this theory does not explains the acidic nature of some compounds generally which are electron deficient. They are known as electron deficient compounds. So what do you mean by electron deficient compound generally? So it was this concept is present in chemical bonding. Okay, so electron deficient compounds means which do not follow the octet rule. So octet rule violation ante more than 8 electrons to less than 8 electrons. If less than 8 electrons are there, they're treated as electron deficient compounds. Okay, in the valency of a molecule, in the valency of an atom, in the formation of a molecule, in the formation of a molecule, if an atom is not possess 8 electrons, it does not follow the octet rule. Even after the formation of bond, total molecule, they treat as electron deficient molecules. So here examples are very important. So BF3, here boron, the central atom C. So there is no lone pair electrons are there. So boron is having a total 3 bonds around it. So boron is having only 6 electrons. So it does not follow the octet rule. Octet rule ante compulsory 8 electron rule follow. Means after the bond formation, in the process of bond formation, it must possess 8 electrons, but BF3 does not. But BF3 characters to say they are like acid. So why it is, how it is showing acidic character, and it does not donate the H plus. It does not donate the H plus, but it acts as a acid. How? It is not explained. Next, even BCl3, AlCl3, diborane. So these are the electron deficient. These are known as electron deficient compounds, and which acts as acids. But how they are acting as H plus, how they are acting as acids, it is not explained by Bronsted theory. Okay. So these are the main drawbacks in the Bronsted theory. So simply I will explain the total Bronsted theory clearly. That what is the first is the definition. So Bronsted-Lowry theory was independently proposed by both Bronsted and Lowry separately. Actually, there is no combined work was done. Next, what is acid? Proton donor is the acid. What is the base? Proton acceptor is the base. Next is what is the acid-base reaction? Is called neutralization. In the neutralization process, according to this theory, the transfer of H plus takes place from acid to base. Next, an acid always forms a base always forms an acid. Next, a strong acid forms weak base, weak acid forms strong base. Next, weak base forms strong acid, strong base forms weak acid. Next, the pair of chemical species which are differed by one H plus, nothing but one proton, are known as conjugate acid base pair. In their conjugate acid base pair, the both are having nature different, the strength is also different. One is weaker one, then conjugation ఏమవుతుంది, it's a stronger one. Acid అవుతే it's reciprocal base అవుతుంది. Okay, next this theory also explains about the leveling effect. So what is the leveling effect? Simply leveling of H plus ions and the leveling of OH minus ions. The leveling of H plus ions by water for strong acids and the leveling of OH minus ions in the hydrolysis of strong bases is called leveling effect. So strong acids ki strong bases ki మొత్తం level H plus level అయిపోతుంది acids ki in water, bases కూడా OH minus level అవుతుంది కాబట్టి the water we simply say water is not suitable to compare the strength of strong acids and also strong bases. For strong acids to compare their strength we use the glacial acetic acid. To compare the strength of strong bases we use liquid ammonia. Next, what are strong acids, what are strong bases means which are able to donate more H plus ion, they are strong acids. Which are ready to accept more H plus ions, they are treated as a strong bases. Means it tells about the acid base definition, the strength of acids and bases, neutralization reaction, leveling effect, conjugate acid base. Okay, so means there is a many concepts are there and many number of acids and bases are also covered. When compared to the Arrhenius theory, it is very better. It is 100% better when compared to the Arrhenius theory, because in Arrhenius theory very limited compounds are explained as acids and bases, but here the many number of compounds, the maximum number of compounds are explained. Okay, so even it has also some drawbacks. What are the drawbacks? And we know that it explains acids only in the presence of proton acceptors. It explains the base only in the presence of donor of H plus. Next, it does not explain the acidic character of electron deficient compounds. Okay, so based on this theory, there is a separate topic is there that is called types of solvents. So based on the proton generation, based on the proton production, there is a 4 type of solvents are present. So the one is protophilic solvents. So what are protophilic solvents means? We know here the word proto indicates about proton. Here philic, so always remember philic word chala it comes many times in the chemistry. The philic means likes or loves. So what they loves proton. They loves proton means they likes proton means they are ready to accept the protons. Okay, means the chemical species which have the tendency to accept the protons. H plus accepts is a nature they known as protophilic solvents. So just like water, alcohol, liquid ammonia, I have to remember these examples. They call protophilic solvents. Okay, they are ready to accept the protons. Next, exactly opposite to it, this is called protogenic solvents. So protogenic solvent, again in the name itself it tells the definition. Proto means the proton, genic means generates, means which produces. We know generate means produces, means which are ready to donate, which are ready to produce the H plus. So the solvents which have tendency to lose protons, nothing but to lose H plus ions are treated as a protogenic. Same H2O comes under both. So acetic acid, liquid HCl. So we know normal general all acids which contain hydrogen, they are ready to donate the H plus. So these are the standard examples we are giving. So next one, amphiprotic. Amphiprotic solvents. So amphiprotic solvents means so the solvent which are having the both natures, they are ready to donate the H plus and they are also ready to accept the H plus. So if they are having both capacities, both the natures, they treat as amphiprotic solvents. Okay. Solvents which have tendency to accept and donate protons are called amphiprotic solvents. Here both protophilic and protogenic. So the H2 example we got in both compounds. Okay, same ethyl alcohol, normal alcohol, there is the same C2H5OH, and even ammonia works as a protophilic. Sorry, amphiprotic. Let's see the last type of solvents we call as aprotic solvents. So aprotic solvents means the solvents which are having no capacity to accept the H plus and to donate the H plus. So already we know the example. There is benzene, carbon tetrachloride, carbon disulfide, like that solvents that cannot accept the H plus and donate the H plus. So the solvents which has no tendency to accept and donate. So H plus. In all these categories, examples are very important. Benzene, carbon disulfide, carbon tetrachloride. These are the main examples. Okay. Next, here one more important thing in the Bronsted-Lowry theory. So there is a, for example, if you see H2, what is the conjugate acid for it? H2, what is the conjugate acid? Acid means you have to add H plus. Conjugate acid for it is H2O plus. Same for H2, what is the conjugate base? Conjugate means losing of H plus. It's become OH minus. Means H2O ready to accept the H plus, ready to donate the H plus. This type of it means H2O is a amphoteric solvent. Means it is having basic character and also acidic character, because it is ready to donate the H plus, it is also ready to accept the H plus. So we can say Bronsted-Lowry theory also explains the amphoteric nature of some compounds. Amphoteric nature means showing both acidic character and basic character. Okay, in the same way HSO4 minus, hydrogen sulfate, also ready to donate the H plus, become SO4 minus 2, and ready to accept the H plus, becoming H2SO4. So like this Bronsted-Lowry theory also explains the amphoteric nature of compounds also. Okay.